Welcome back, folks. I'm Wavepunk, and these are the Producer Diaries. This is going to be a series of videos I produce in a very similar vein to the series of videos that I've been producing on this channel, but with a bit of a twist to it. If you're already a subscriber, you're going to be familiar with this type of content. This is what you subscribe for in the first place. Me taking you along the journey of my music production. But up until this point, it's been daily videos. I've been showing you every single day what I've been doing, and some days are just not worth seeing. So for the sake of your entertainment, as well as my mental clarity and having a bit more space to make better content, we're going to take 7 videos a week and go down to 1 video a week where I show you all the best musical bits I made that week and maybe walk through some of the things I learned. If you're new to the channel and this is the first time you're seeing me, you might be surprised that this video is week 53 when it sounds like I'm starting a new series. And that's because I just finished 365 days of producing every day for a year. So that was 52 weeks of production. This is now week 53. Welcome to the Producer Diaries. Let me walk you through some of the cool stuff we made this week. Working here in Logic as always. Some of you might have seen a video way back at the beginning of the channel where I flipped a TikTok from Scout Out Loud. Scout Out Loud had another TikTok recently that I thought was really, really cool. This one here, this is a great little guitar bit they got. So pretty. Beautiful, beautiful guitar work, and a lot of some fun kind of polyrhythm sort of stuff going on there, mixed meter, and I wanted just to see what I could come up with here. The piece, they play at around 191 BPM. I did originally make this at 191, and then I put a warp on it to kind of bring it down into like drum and bass range. This is what it sounds like. Now, if you're wondering why the music kept going after the music clearly stopped here, it's because that's how this little warp tool works. And I'm pretty sure at this point I'm using this tool in a way it's not really supposed to be used. I'm pretty sure in Logic there is a way to just bounce this and then warp it, use pitch flex, or just use the flex tool to change the speed of things here. Obviously, I pitched it down as well. Originally, if I turn this off, this is what it sounds like. It's kind of fast, but it's cool too. The same idea, just at the pitch they played it at, as well as at the tempo they played it at. We'll leave the warp off to talk through a little bit of the parts here. The coolest thing that is happening in this section is definitely the mixed meter, playing kind of like a drum and bass groove, where we just have these like measure where things change up. Kind of in like a golden meanish area of the phrase. They just put a measure of 6 in what is otherwise 4, so it's kind of 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's a wonderful little phrase length, and it's fun to try and do drum and bass and not just strict 4/4 there. So that was a cool idea. I liked it. Nothing particularly clever happening elsewhere. This little flute bit is the only other thing that. That sounds pretty cool. That was made up here. All the MIDI is my own. It is, looks like one oscillator of a sine wave with 9 voices of unison being filtered by this distorted comb filter, and then this LFO is changing the filter's cutoff, as well as, what was the other thing there? The filter variation, oh, like the comb frequency. So just kind of moving that back and forth, and there's some reverb on it. So a pretty simple little patch here that then I think we put some extra automation on top of, although there's some other automation on top of it as well. With this, there's some, I guess that's just cleaning it up, and then some chroma as well. And then over here, once we bounce into audio, we got a shaper box that's putting a bit of it's filtering the top end of it. Then Pro Q again to kind of rein things in a little bit in some spots. I think it also low passes it as it goes. No, it's just low passed the entire time. I made this back on like Monday. And then up here, yeah, here it's not going to be. It's the other way around. Yeah, it's a fun sound. A cool little pretty bit that goes well with the guitar part there. Could be something we turn into a full piece. I will say that I did not, I need to work a little bit more with the flex tool, the timing tool, to I think line really grid the guitar part into the piece. I think the way that it was played originally is wonderfully emotional. It has a good flow to it. You don't notice the kind of variation in tempo in a negative way. If anything, it adds to the emotion of the piece. But for EDM, it probably needs to be pretty locked in there. So every time I've listened to this, I've felt like, oh, that's just not quite lining up right. So that was the first thing we made. The next thing we did was enter Bishu's battle on the 23rd. This was fine. It wasn't my best entry, but it was still kind of cool. I'm trying to start doing this thing where I start pieces on the 9th measure instead of on the 8th to give myself ease. If I want to add things in front of it, I can do that without having to like greatly adjust the timing of things. It seems like a nice habit to get into. So even for a little beat battle entry here, we're starting that here. This is what this sounded like. Kind of a liquidy drum and bass sort of thing. I'm very, very liquidy here. The original sample was this like Game Boy gaming TikTok video. Sounded like, had like that. That sort of idea here. I took that, I chopped it up, and then just played in a chop, and then put a huge reverb and stuff on top of it. A whole bunch of... made that sort of sound. It was very washy, probably too washy, which is a common sin I commit. And then put other sounds with it. This is a patch we made. Almost everything just going through this one simple shape there. And then put some drums with it, put some sounds with it, recorded some vocals as well over the top of it, which you heard there at the beginning and as well in the second half. Into this guy.
The ache in your heart never goes away.
Really, really strong auto-tune here. We took the auto-tune and put it on five retune speed, so almost, and 0 humanization. Wanted it to kind of have that almost robotic, T-Pain sort of sound to it. The problem I always have with mixes is that I love tons of reverb, and I then put a whole bunch of sounds all together that have a whole bunch of reverbs in. It just becomes really messy, and so there's no pocket for the vocals to sit in. No matter how much I try to carve one out, I did here on the EQ. I did have it cut out. Where was it doing this? It was just this guy. This guy is a side chain spectral EQ. That kicks in when the voice starts singing to carve those out of these big washy sounds. It did okay. It wasn't the best of jobs, but yeah, a cool sound. Didn't win the battle with that one there. This next one, though, we entered Tails' battle. Sure, I don't remember what I saved there. We entered Tails' battle, and this one went a lot better. This was pretty cool. We had a few like guitar samples and piano sample and stuff. His battle, it had to be a minute long. You could put it in any key you wanted. You just had to use all the samples. There's a whole bunch of different little samples here. Made this sound, which I thought was pretty cool. Fun. I like that. I was really proud of this one in general. There was about 40 entrants in the battle, and I made it to the top 10. Did not make it past the top 10, though. The samples were this static that you hear here at the beginning that we put some chroma on. We put chroma on a lot of things in this one. We put chroma on that. We put chroma on the cowbell up here. Am I correct? Yeah, so this was one of the sounds as well to kind of lock it into the key. This piano was one of the main sounds. And you could hear that delay. If I turn off the delay here, the piano patch was actually long. It was a whole bunch of chords they gave us, but I didn't want all the rest of them. I wanted something a little bit. It was a very jazzy sample in general. A lot of the samples were kind of jazzy, and I flipped a lot of them to make them less jazzy and make them a little bit more cool. And so then we took that sound, flipped it into that by putting OTT as well as some step effects on top of it. If we turn off the step and the OTT, the step effects, OTT to kind of bring it up, brighten it, and then we looped that, and that kind of gave us the beginning here. Those. And then drums. It's just straight up a chime loop. And then these guys, we get into this lead. This lead I did make from scratch and it was pretty cool. I did some things in this I'd never done before. There's this was one of those happy accident moments where I was designing things, everything was going as I had heard in my brain, and then I made this to be like a ba 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 kind of filter, and didn't change the rate knob. It was supposed to be on like 1 bar or 2 bars, and it was by default set at a quarter note, and I put it on the things I wanted and hit play and was like, whoa, that is crazy sounding. Especially in the context. That little rhythmic credit, I was like, that's sick, let's leave that in there. Now, obviously the most cool part of this is watching this all-pass filter. This is where that pitch, because of the way the all-pass is moving here, is creating this pitch wobble. I thought it was pretty cool. It was a good sound, and you might notice there's nothing controlling this. That's because I literally just drew it in, and I didn't draw it in by hand. I just put this in Latch. I think I should just start doing a lot more opt in here. Just grabbing Serum when I'm doing things. I'm turning a knob. I'm like, that was cool. Just turn on Latch and just play it. Just move the knob with Latch on it. It just writes all the automation in, and then it's just there. So that was pretty cool. A fun lead that made some pretty cool sounds. That eventually comes over here and we stack it up. It's the same pitch as the whole time. It gets pretty nutty. The only thing I really wish I had done is that one that kind of low passes up, goes, and then it goes like back down every 4 bars. I wish I'd kind of like left it open, or then like had it be like an 8-bar one that kind of goes up and then goes back down instead of just going up and then slamming back down. The other cool thing that's happening here is definitely this little vocal thing, which I thought was sick. I found this on Splice. This was not one of the original samples. And the second time around, we just put a little, just a time shaper on it to give us just a little bit. This is one of the default time shaper shapes. It just gives a little bit of a variation there. My favorite thing, I did put this breakbeat turnaround in the middle of it, which is something I've tried to do in the past and always, for some reason, it's just not quite worked out. I'll say in this case, I think I just kind of got lucky. I don't know why this one worked, where in the past when I've tried to put this in and like cut everything out and have the drums dramatically change just for a fill like that, it hasn't worked, but here it worked. So yeah, it was a fun sound. Well, I need the bass. Cool sound. I was really proud of that one. That one sounded pretty sick. So lots of good little sounds in here. The only other thing I worked on this week was I just trying to get back into bass design. I really want to understand what it is about sound design. I still feel like this is the weakest thing I have in my arsenal, is just designing cool synth sounds. All my synth sounds still sound very Game Boy-ish, very chiptune-y, which just means very simple. And so I went back into, and I decided just to grab a whole bunch of the loops I got from Chime off of his Patreon, and I made this beat with it. It was a very typical 140 Skrillex, like 2012 dubstep type beat. And I've got a few different things kind of going on in this project, where with this chime bassy stuff here. If you listen to this, that's pretty cool, right? That's pretty fun. But that is literally just unflipped, unchanged in almost any way, chime bass samples. Which this is not a bad way to make music. I'm happy to make music this way, sort of. I don't like that I don't know what he's doing, and I feel like I should. I feel like I have all the tools in front of me to make that sound from scratch. I want to know how to do that and know why my sounds always come out so muddy and gross. Because this started with me trying to make my own sounds, I think up here. I thought the sound was cool until I put on his samples, but like at the beginning it's like... Like, it's not bad, but it is much more boring. And I think in general what he's doing here is like each of these is just such a different sound design, especially on the back half here. All that's so much fun, right? This is stacking two different samples. These two guys. That's a cool sound. These two little guys. And then this guy is sort of a chop of a melody. I just took this one spot from a melody of his I really liked. But like it does show me that if I'm just like a little bit more creative on my sound design here, I think I can make better things. So I was like, that was cool. I made this one first, this little bass design. Then I made his stuff, and I was like, okay, that was fun to try, but let's try and make some other sounds. And then started actually trying to write out a bass piece here, trying to get better at arranging as I go instead of just like getting locked into making one idea and then really struggling with the arrangement. But I made this sound. Cool sound. Need some variation here. This was me again trying to do bass one-shot design from the sort of sounds he has up there. I mean, there's a little more foghorny than the color bass sort of stuff he's got going on up there. But still, it needs a lot of help over here. It needs a lot of help before this starts to like feel like a pre-drop, because then you would build up bell, right over here. So yeah, those were the projects I worked on this week. Made some sounds, learned a few things, got better at using automation and trying to using Latch to like open up sounds and make sounds alive and just write in data as I'm feeling it. It's the thing I constantly feel when I'm doing sound design is I'll like have the drums down and I'll start to like make a synth and I'll turn a knob and be like, that was cool. I want to capture that, and then I'll figure out how to like go in and write the automation in to make it happen, which is just so inorganic. I just turn on latch and just turn the knob exactly the way I did just the first time when I thought the sound was cool, you know? So learning some steps here, keeping my head down and actually trying to get better at making things. Yep, that's all I made this week. We'll see what we make next week. Thanks so much for watching. These have been the Producer Diaries. See you guys next week. Bye-bye.